It was revealed yesterday that the Department of Health and Human Services was buying up about 14 million doses of potassium iodide, which is, of course, used for nuclear disasters to block the uptake of radioactive isotopes. Now, the thing was, we found out about this through news tips from some insiders about 2-3 days ago. And I wanted to make sure, as did Alex and Paul Joseph Watson, that all of this checked out. It wasn't a routine purchase, it wasn't just a fluke or anything like that, and it was real on the Fed BizOps website, which of course is a federal government website. Now, we looked through all of the information and talked to some individuals inside the department, and yes, we found out that this purchase was indeed bizarre, but specifically, we were told that this looked like a purchase around the same time of the Fukushima incident in 2011. And this is what concerned me. This is what prompted me to release the information to look into it further. And Paul Joseph Watson organically was also doing the same thing the entire time, looking at the news tips, looking at the insider information in order to release this with full-blown information overload as to what's going on. Now, I am going to call here, recorded live, the individual, the purchasing agent responsible for the acquisition of this potassium iodide right here. We're going to call him, and I'm going to ask him a few key things. I'm going to ask him, number one, why are they purchasing 14 million doses of iodide, potassium iodide? And the thing is, a good government, a real government, a smart government would purchase potassium iodide, or more importantly, they would actually purchase nascent atomic iodine. But potassium iodide is toxic, but in event of an emergency, nuclear emergency, it is good because you would die otherwise. So a smart government would purchase a form of iodine for its citizens and encourage everyone else to do the same. So I'm actually saying that's a good thing. But they're going behind the scenes and doing this, getting their own stockpiles of potassium iodide, because 14 million doses isn't that much. That's military level or federal government level. They could help those individuals because, remember, you'll take multiple doses over weeks or months or whatever. So they're going behind the scenes and purchasing this. I'm also going to ask if it's because of Fukushima and this individual or the agency's thoughts about Fukushima. Top scientists now say that it will threaten humanity for thousands of years. They say that if it blows up and has a meltdown, which the 1,500 rods, every single one they extract, has an opportunity to do that, how they have homeless people now cleaning it up, and what their thoughts are on that. And I'm also going to ask them, you know, if they support potassium iodide and think we should all get some form of iodine, whether it's nascent, atomic, or whatever, which is, like I said, the real thing a government should be doing. So why don't we go ahead right now and set up the call line and talk to this individual.
Health and Human Services Procurement, Tim Bouchel.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Anthony Gucciardi. How are you?
I'm very well.
Great. I was just inquiring about the potassium iodide, the 14 million doses of potassium iodide on Fed BizOps. I was wondering what you could tell me about that.
I'm with the Department of Health and Human Services, and we're a medical supply and pharmaceutical depot, and it's one of the items that we stock. We stock over 4,000.
Well, I see 14 million doses. Is that routine? Do you guys usually get 14 million? Because someone I spoke to from the organization said that's a little bizarre.
No, it's given how robust that material is. It's got 7 years dating. I mean, it's no, that's. I mean, we leverage our buying power that way, using taxpayer money. I mean, that's the best deal we could get. So no, that's not out of the ordinary.
So go ahead.
I bought millions of doses of flu. You know, in June. So no,
flu shot. Millions of doses of the flu shot.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not stockpiling the potassium iodide for any particular reason?
No.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you have any concerns about Fukushima, the fact that, you know, it is melting down?
I have no idea. No, I have no idea anything about that. I purchase material for the federal government. There's no hidden agenda here.
So you don't actually know why you're buying it?
Goodbye.
Oh, wow. Well, what's interesting is that he acted as if it was a routine purchase. And then when I actually asked him what was going on, he said, well, I don't know anything. I just purchased for the federal government. Why don't we call him back one more time? Just one more time. We don't want to get into harassment territory. Just one more time. And I want to ask him to clarify his statement on the fact that he just buys for the federal government. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't care about Fukushima. They're just buying tons of iodine and potassium iodide just to stockpile it, just like they're buying billions of bullets just to help the taxpayer save money. That's why they're buying billions of rounds of ammunition. That's why they're buying 14 million doses of potassium iodide, to help the taxpayer save money.
Tim Buchel, Health and Human Services Procurement.
Hey, how's it going? This is Anthony again. Sorry to call you once more. I just really wanted to ask you a question. As a public servant, you know, people like myself paying you to serve us, I wanted to ask you to clarify your statement that you just work for the federal government. You know, not that you don't have to talk to me. You hung up on me. You just work for the federal government. You just work for me. And you don't actually know why you're buying 14 million doses of potassium iodide. And that's fine. I just wanted you to clarify that statement to me. Because I've actually spoken to government insiders who actually work at this department, and they told me that it was a bizarre purchase and that it was out of the ordinary. And they also told me that there are deep concerns about Fukushima. So I wanted to get your take on that. You wouldn't comment on Fukushima, which is fine. But then you also revealed to me that you just work for the federal government. You don't really know what's going on. You're just the purchasing agent, which is fine. I just wanted you to tell me that and talk to me instead of hanging up on me, because I actually pay your salary, and as do the millions of people that will ultimately hear about this and watch this video. So please give me a call back if you would. If not, we'll just have to go on with the statements that you gave me. My name's Anthony Gucciardi. You can just call back this number. Thanks a lot. I think you should look into Fukushima, really, because even the top scientists who, they're called conservative by the other top scientists, say that for thousands of years we'll be threatened by Fukushima, and if it blows up, it will mean the end of Japan, quote-unquote, bye-bye Japan, and we'll have to evacuate the West Coast. So I don't blame you guys if you're stockpiling the potassium iodide. I don't blame you. That makes sense. That's smart. That's what a good, real government would do, is stockpile it for the citizens. My thing is 14 million doses obviously is not enough for the citizens, and it's not even enough for most government, since the federal government is now so bloated. So please give me a call back and let me know if you want to clarify your statement. Again, I'm Anthony Gucciardi. Thanks a lot. So give me a call back if you would, please. It seems that the public servant, once again, does not want to talk to us about the open FedBizOpps deal where they want 14 million doses of potassium iodide, and he hung up on me for even inquiring about it and talking about Fukushima. And he claimed that it was just a routine purchase. Oh, this happens all the time. It's not a big deal. And then later said, hey, I just work for the federal government. I just purchase stuff. I have no idea what's going on. Wouldn't even talk about Fukushima. And then I said, well, you know, I just want to know about some stuff. And he hung up on me. Goodbye. Hung up on me. A very good public servant that I pay for to serve this nation, no doubt. A federal government agent that is proliferating freedom and liberty throughout this nation. If they wanted to dispel these conspiracy theories that Fukushima exists and that Fukushima is a danger, and that a real smart government would actually stockpile potassium iodide and, more importantly, nascent iodine, they would stockpile that. Nascent iodine, of course, you can take every day and prepare yourself. The potassium iodides for emergencies is actually really bad for you. So a smart, real government would tell its citizens, yes, we're stockpiling this for you and you should get some too. But instead, they're secretly going behind the scenes and ordering tons and tons of it, enough for about 12 million people, or 14 million people, and not telling you any of it. Not telling you about iodine, not telling you anything. So instead of that guy coming forward and saying, yeah, you know, we're doing this for whatever reason, he just blackwalled me and blacklisted me and just completely is now ignoring me and will not answer any phone calls from our number.
But U.S. government orders 14 million dosages of potassium iodide. There's the headline. And so I wanted to get Anthony Gucciardi's take on this because he was the one talking about it yesterday. And I noticed Watson also must have found it in the FedBiz site from one of our tipsters. Listeners sent it to us in email. So we're breaking that at Infowars.com right now. But Anthony, this is what we've been concerned about with that radioactive wave coming in, all of it. And, of course, you've got the head of the Young Turks saying when he was at MSNBC, the last straw was, they said, look, don't have reporters there, run away from it. It's really horrible, super high radiation, but we're not going to tell the public that. And, of course, the prevailing winds in the ocean all comes our way. So, again, I personally am concerned about this, and I'm not on the West Coast. Radiation's gone up some here. Now, I think Ann Coulter should move to live in Fukushima. She says it's a good deal, literally. And, you know, that's her First Amendment. I don't agree with that. But what is your breakdown of this serious development? What do you think they're doing it for? All the reactors that are 40 years old here that are rotting, they're going to keep going, violating federal law? The other reactors or the missing nuclear weapons? What do you think's going on here, Anthony Gucciardi?
This is the same government, we have to remember, that raised the allowable radiation limits in our food, turned off the radiation counters on the West Coast, and silently have been preparing for Fukushima for a while because their experts tell them, yeah, Fukushima, the key thing is the extraction of these rods. Even the conservative professors from Yale University and others are saying, yeah, the extraction of these rods could lead to, quote unquote, Fukushima forever, changing the world, completely devastating Japan. But we can go back now and look at this reality that it was at this around the same time. They've started to take the rods out now. The government knows this. The federal analysts who look at this say, yeah, this is the key thing. This is the #1 issue.
Because if they touch.
Because if they touch, basically the whole plant will blow up. There will be a meltdown.
And there's tons of these things.
Yeah.
And they have homeless people. Can you guys pull up the image of the homeless guy they've got doing the work? I mean, I'm not putting the homeless guy down, but he looks like, you know, he has a couple cups of sake a day.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Human error is just to begin with. But look at this.
I think it was Business Insider had the photo, but go ahead.
1,535 rods that they have to extract. That's 1,535 instances of potential catastrophe that could melt down Fukushima, evacuate Japan, completely obliterate the West Coast with fallout. And that's the conservative Yale professor on Huffington Post. David Suzuki, who, you know, is right about some things wrong.
Civilization ending in Japan.
Yeah, I mean, he's saying basically Japan would be wiped out. Bye-bye Japan. West Coast would have to immediately evacuate.
That's the quote, bye-bye Japan.
Yeah, exact quote, bye-bye Japan. It would be completely obliterated, and then we'd have to evacuate here in the United States in many areas, and the food supply would be completely tarnished. But the thing is here, they're ordering, it is 14 million tablets, so you could say packages of doses or whatever. 14 million tablets of this potassium iodide, which I believe, and the experts...
So it's tablets, not packages.
That's the low-quality garbage iodine that, you know...
Well, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's better than nothing, but you take it in an emergency. But anyway, the key thing here is the iodine manufacturers, they all know that Fukushima is probably going to melt down because they have homeless people going in, working on these rods, extractions, and everything.
That's right. That's why we've had everybody in the world trying to buy our raw... crystals that we have stockpiled.
A form of elemental.
Yeah.
You can't even hardly get that anymore. And I was talking to some manufacturers. They've increased it like 2,000% over the last several years, and it's going up more and more with Fukushima and everything like that. In 2011, now it's just extrapolating over and over again. The government is undoubtedly 100% preparing for the meltdown of Fukushima with this purchase. Specifically, the 14 million doses maybe just for the West Coast. And then you could get into the reality that they're also buying it because they know the prices are...
And by the way, that on screen is the small explosion. Show the MOX 3 reactor. Where it's a big 3,000-foot tall mushroom cloud. Or just look at mushroom cloud Fukushima, and that'll give it to you guys. You'll see it. It's 3 times the size of that.
Yeah, that was all downplayed anyway. It was over 2 times the amount of radiation.
No, it's good for you. Yeah, there it is. That's good for you.
We should actually make Ann Coulter radiation pills just bottled at the source from Fukushima, like spring water, except for...
We should do a joke video. I've said a parody on that. Now available, Ann Coulter Fukushima pills. Yeah, and then show a clip of her saying it's good for you and go, that's right. Now you can enjoy brain damage, kidney failure, cancers, and infertility.
Bottled it.
There's nothing like your teeth falling out and your fast-growing cells all dying. Do you like your guts liquefying and blood pouring out of your body? Well, then Ann Coulter radiation pills are for you.
Well, you know, it's good news for her because they did dump, I think, 73% of all of the radiation, the cesium, into the Pacific Ocean when they couldn't handle it anymore. So thankfully, we do have radiation constantly attacking us through the food supply and through the ocean on a consistent 24/7 basis. That's the other point, too, here, is that silently they're preparing. A real government would tell its people, tell its citizens what's going on and order them to prepare themselves.
The Russians did when Chernobyl blew up. They said take iodine and also Prussian blue, which we can't get here, that also takes it out. People know that as the color, but it's a mineral, I guess, that's really good. We've been looking into that. But the whole point is that my wife lived in Europe. Her dad was a diplomat with the agriculture department during that, and for about 6 months, they had to have frozen food flown in from the U.S. and Asia. They had to have powdered milk, no more milk, because that it bioaccumulates in the cow's milk, because it was hitting the crops. Italy, Germany, France, Russia, they wouldn't eat their food for at least 6 months. And the UN says over 1 million deaths in the aggregate since '86 from Fukushima in the last 20-something years. But meanwhile, they will not even tell us.
We are literally still importing fish from Japan and eating them right here in Texas. and it's sold as a delicacy.
Why are you racist against Japanese?
I'm obviously very racist because I don't like radiation.
I'm not going to look at what you just said. I'm just going to call you racist.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You shouldn't look at these quotes where he says, much more serious is the danger of the spent fuel rod pool. This is a Yale University professor where he says 35 rods, safely transport them to the common storage pool. Then you have 50 meters to go, and then it's 6,375 other rods. And if they blow up, then it will be, he said, they would fission and all of humanity will be threatened for thousands of years. That's okay, though. He's obviously racist. And he says they're completely uncontrollable. You know, we have homeless people doing it who are paid like $3 a year. And the Unit 4 pool is completely destroyed. Everything about this is red alert level.
And the whole place, what's that hydrology term where it's all turning into a swamp and sponging because they're having to keep dumping water on it?
Yeah, we've talked about that before. I forget the term. We always try and bring it up, but it is actually key. This whole thing is just riddled with error.
I mean, I'm actually looking at Southern Hemisphere over the radiation because you can't fight that. I mean, if it gets high enough, I will leave. And I guess I'll take some of the crew with me or something. I mean, this is that serious.
That is actually the only answer at that point. I mean, you can protect yourself with some iodine, things like that, but if it actually completely blows sky high, even the experts say...
Well, that's why we know radiation at this level lowers immunity. That's why they're having huge flu and cold deaths in Japan. Tens of thousands, kids dropping dead on playgrounds because they'll have cardiac arrest from it. This is all admitted to cover up, and we've been getting hit with radiation. We're eating it, and you're seeing record deaths from bacteria and stuff. I mean, this is already hammering.
And real hot particles in California as far as Boston, too. Hot particles. You know, you inhale that, you're essentially dead. I mean, this is massive level. They were saying on some reports that it's worse than Chernobyl.
And, it's many times worse than Chernobyl.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Yeah, exactly. That's an understatement because Chernobyl, not to mention, was just a one-time event. This could go on for thousands of years.
It was one reactor that blew up, not 5 that all partially blew, that are continuing to blow. You know, they're still picking up weird isotopes that show stuff's going on.
And we trust TEPCO, which has been unveiled to be like run by the mafia. And they're telling us how great everything is, hiring homeless people. That doesn't sound very good. They're taping up things. Nuclear fission technology, they're just using duct tape.
You know, I'm not for like global government type stuff, but this should be like the U.S. Of course, we're leading the evil instead, or the UN or NATO or whoever. It should be, they already had Navy ships there. They're all getting cancer, suing over that. But I mean, this should be 100,000 people there volunteering, you know, every month, top scientists, people in lead-lined suits, coming up with the best plans. It should be a Manhattan-level project to clean this up. Instead, they just don't care.
The Nuclear Commission did raise it to the highest level recently. The issue is that...
I think they created a new level.
Yes, and the issue is that no one is doing anything about it. The governments are just sitting back in the United States.
This is the highest level nuclear emergency.
Yep.
And now they were saying, last time I saw a few weeks ago, they may create a new level.
Yeah, exactly. This is beyond anything else. And we're just sitting here, bread and circus level, doing nothing about it. The government's not telling us anything. Meanwhile...
It's like a T6 tornado.
Yeah, this is the collapse of the Roman Empire, basically. And we're just sitting here doing nothing. And they're buying 14 million...
Well, you know, the Romans in 410, when Alaric was like 50 miles away, the Visigoth chieftain out of Germany, and was burning and pillaging and slaughtering everyone, and only taking the women... they were still having sex with their horses and partying and just laughing and drugged out of their mind as the hordes. I mean, it's the same deal. That's what I'm saying. It's zombiosis. Yeah. It's the decadence.
That's what we were talking about off the air. The Roman Empire is the most closely related, in my opinion, to the United States because Obama actually doesn't want fervent supporters as much as he has them. He wants a population that is docile and doesn't care one way or another.
Well, that's why they modeled the last 100 years, brought in the fascist symbols of the Senate. They modeled themselves. Look at the architecture. That they say they're the new Rome.
Absolute key is apathy. Because the enemy of all of this, the establishment, is to care about Fukushima, care about the fact that it's blowing up consistently, that the experts say it'll threaten humanity for thousands of years. That's the antithesis of the establishment. To not care, to have apathy, is to allow them to win and to allow them to completely destroy our family.
And that's what John Bounds reports about. The woman's 1.5 feet away from the car. He finally gets, it later blows up.
Yeah, I guess he should have just let her blow up. I mean, that's what it could have come down to because some of the comments were like, how dare he annoy her like that? How dare he go in and barge and be so aggressive? Just even having emotions now is bad because passion is the ultimate enemy of the establishment. Passion for anything, as we're doing right now, this passion, people think it's weird that you care that Fukushima is blowing up and killing thousands of millions of people. Gee, that's a good thing to have passion. That's what all of these motivational people have always said, you know, the ones that are real, is have passion for what you're doing, and that's how you have success in business or anything. This is just a new level, bringing the media to the next level about passion. The mainstream media has no passion. The mainstream media reports and says, today, Fukushima, blah, blah, blah. They don't care. They don't even report on the real news. This is called passion. That's why.
Yeah, how could they all sit around MSNBC and Fox and CNN, it's all coming out, and go, oh, yeah, don't send reporters. And, oh, it is increasing here. And then they don't even, they just go home and have sex and party.
Yeah.
Repeat what you said to me, because we were getting off the whole Fukushima iodine subject, but you said some hardcore stuff that's absolutely true during the break. Repeat, Anthony, what you were just saying about what's happening with iodine, because it's true. Tell folks.
We were just having a conversation about the manufacturing stuff. You were saying, could we actually get more elemental iodine if Fukushima does blow up? In 2011, some of the numbers I was getting was per unit, instead of $200, the manufacturers were jacking it up to $2,000 a unit. No one could get iodine. And then in addition to all of that, they weren't even selling it because they're just stockpiling it in warehouses like diamonds sitting on.
For those that don't know, elemental iodine is like alien blood. It eats through like 5 levels of steel if you were to drop it on the ground.
Well, you know, Dr. Group was telling me a story about this one manufacturer who, yeah, they did drip some on the ground on the carpet and went through multiple stories of the building. I mean, that's how raw and serious this is. The handling of it is totally insane. The DEA regulations alone are insane. You have to handle this with extreme precision. And people have warehouses of this just sitting, waiting, because they know that they can jack up the price. But the thing is, people are willing to pay for that. The government is taking a preemptive strike right now and getting these 14 million doses because they know when it hits the fan, they're not going to be able to get any of it, just like we saw in 2011. Now, my thing I was saying is that the public is so unaware of this to a larger degree, thanks to the mainstream media, that if I was into stocks and everything, which I'm not, and I don't believe in the stock market, the future trades for iodine would be where it would be at right now. Because if Fukushima does go, the iodine alone, the elemental pure iodine, will be the #1 commodity in the United States and probably around the world. For sure, Japan, if it, you know, if they can even have a functioning commerce system over there. But iodine will be the #1 commodity.